Hey guys, we've just been sitting out here enjoying this day. It's 50 degrees, kind of a full spring.
Oh, full spring day. It's March 6th and feels like spring.
Yeah, it's just nice. We're out here trying to discussing things. Hey, Hansi. And Hans, okay, you have to get back because we can't get in the shot the whole time.
You let him get away with murder. Oh my gosh.
Hansi boy. All right, guys, back. Everybody back. Hansi's so happy. I love that dog. All right. And, we got to talking about, we're coming up on 2 years.
In April.
Into April.
Yep.
Since we've been on this property here in Alaska. I mean, a lot of our viewers know, maybe some of you don't know, that we've actually been in Alaska for about almost 7.5 years now. And I kind of just was talking about, thinking about when we first got to Alaska, things that we, thought we would need, and, just things that maybe, questions that maybe it would benefit some of you guys, that people are thinking about coming to Alaska. Things that...
a lot of things that we didn't think about before moving up here.
Yeah, or things that maybe we thought we would need, and then just we realized that once you get here, it's not what... Alaska's not quite what you think, so you hear a lot of different things, from different people and just stuff on the internet itself, and you get this preconceived notion of what, Alaska is and what you're going to need. But like you said, Alaska's such a big state, it just depends on where you're at, so...
Yeah. What we need down here, you're not going to need up there.
Yeah, so exactly, different parts of Alaska. So, what's the main thing people, that people are always asking?
Well, what brought us to Alaska? That's the biggest question, most frequent question we always get. I don't know,
it's not even really a direct answer to that, really, is there? I mean, it's...
we go over it in more detail on a FAQ video we did, and I'll link that in the description, but just a short of it was adventure, really.
Yeah.
Something different. We both always wanted to come up here, and there was a job opportunity, and so. Yeah,
because it's like you hear people talk about Alaska. I remember my dad talking about it. When he went to school when he was a kid, he had a friend that was from Alaska and was going to school down in the States. And ever since then, he always wanted to come up here and go hunting and just experience Alaska. So it was one of them things where it was kind of in the back of my mind. And then wasn't your mom offered a position?
She almost took a job transfer to Anchorage for the post office when I was like 12 or something like that. But it didn't work out, and I always still wanted to come up. So
it was kind of something that had been, both of us had known about. But it's like this place that's so far away.
Yeah.
It's like another country. And it kind of
really is.
It kind of really is. So I remember we were, we're not going to get into a lot of our history before coming to Alaska. If you want to, more information on that, like she said, check out our FAQ. But it was kind of like one of them things, we brought up Alaska and you both like, we can't go to Alaska, but you can.
Why can't you?
Why can't you? You sure as heck can. You got one life to live, so, live it. And that was kind of our motto, really, for years.
Yep.
And like she said, she got a job opportunity, and we decided to go. And then we'll touch on the job things here later on. But really, it was just adventure and something completely different than we'd experienced before, because we'd been all over the U.S. I'm from South Florida. Chandra,
grew up in Ohio,
and she'd pretty much lived in like 2 houses her whole life.
Yep.
She was very grounded. And I had been all over the United States already with my family, so...
And it always sounded fun to me. Go travel around and see things, and...
Yeah, so we just like, why not? And so anyhow, so we won't go into a lot of the history on that. Look at that, check out our FAQ.
Right. So we packed up everything.
In a little Honda CR-V. What we thought we would need.
3 of us, me and Craig and Chris and Tess, was only 9 months old at the time, but...
Yep.
Yeah, we just packed up the CR-V and headed out. Never been here, didn't know anybody here... Nothing.
Yeah, we had never been here. Like, didn't know one single person. Sharon did have a job all lined up, and like she talked about before, we got here, and then you can tell that a little bit.
Yeah, that didn't work out. The job that I thought I had lined up, I didn't. The person who gave me the job offer no longer worked there by the time we got up here, and didn't say anything to anybody, and so here we are with no job.
And we were scrambling. She got a temporary position somewhere while she was getting the hospital thing sorted out. Where was you working? I can't remember when it was.
It was a mental health place.
Yeah. So she was doing that on the side, and then I started working at it was called the Spark in Homer, basically indoor athletic facility. And then her job did come through, but that's something that we'll touch on a little bit more.
There was a scramble there for a minute.
Yeah. So.
Flexibility, I guess, is a big, huge thing too. You got to be flexible to come up here.
Yeah, be flexible and don't come up here on your last dime. People get a romantic idea of Alaska and they're like, oh, we're just going to go up here and we're going to live off the land and do all these things and that sounds plausible and stuff until you get here. And everything's higher than you thought, and it's different. If you don't have money to fall back on and a job, I urge you to really think it through because it is tough. When you get here, it's not cheap to get here, and it's very hard to get back out of here once you're here.
Yeah, you really need to make sure you've got a nest egg of leave money.
Yeah, leave money.
Enough to get back to wherever you came from.
Yeah, at least a plane ticket. At least a plane ticket. If you've drove up, you can sell your car and you can get you a plane ticket. But it's, I know I've talked to people myself with where I worked that they're only here because they are stuck here. And there was a joke, you're a sourdough once you've soured on Alaska and you got no dough to leave. So, it can be rough.
Yeah.
When we come up here, what we brought versus what maybe we should have brought or what we thought we needed.
Yeah, I mean, it depends what your situation's going to be. When we moved up here initially, we were moving into a furnished rental house. So we didn't need furniture, just clothes. That's all we needed. When we moved to this property, there obviously was nothing.
Yeah, that was a driveway.
A driveway.
Which that was a luxury because a lot of people don't even have the driveway. So
yeah,
at least we had that.
Storage.
That's one of the big things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that people don't think about.
We arrived with our trailer. It was still winter, which is odd because it was the end of April. And we had probably 3 or 4 times as much snow as we got right now at the beginning of March.
It's a weird winter.
But yeah, I wish we had the shelter logics. We ordered one, and it was supposed to arrive the Monday after we got here, but it didn't. There was a big mix-up, and it went somewhere else. So we ended up 2.5, 3 weeks with nowhere to put our stuff. So it was on the ground, in the wet, underneath a tarp that leaks.
Yeah.
So I think that would probably be the most important thing is have storage figured out.
Yep.
We should have brought a shelter logic with us.
We really should have.
Yeah.
Because we thought space was kind of at a premium, and we brought a lot of things that we didn't really need. Way too many house decorations and stuff that we had that we had pared down. But we're talking about this when we come down this time, not the very first time. The very first time we brought very little with us, but this time we brought everything that we owned because a lot of you know that we had. We lived in Alaska, like you said, about 7.5 years. We sold our house up in Sterling and went down to the States for the winter, seeing family. Thought maybe we would maybe move back because of family and whatnot, and decided that Alaska was home. So we were down there for maybe 4 months or so. Bought this property, and then we had left stuff in Ohio.
Yeah, from the first time. So it had already been in storage at my mom's house for over 6 years at that point. So we loaded all that stuff up and brought it up with us too.
Yeah.
And didn't have anywhere to put it. So
yeah, we had that cargo trailer full of stuff that wasn't necessary. You get a little too attached to things, and we had too many things and not enough. We had too many useless things and not enough useful things. But yeah, bringing a shelter, because we lost a lot of the things that we brought that we didn't need, we lost anyway.
Yeah.
Because they got ruined.
Christmas decorations and stuff like that, it all just got wet.
I would say we probably lost a good solid 2 totes of stuff just to the moisture mold, and just it ruined them. So, we brought the stuff and ended up losing it anyway. But, beyond that, when we first come up, I brought my tools.
Yep.
So, if you have some tools, you got to be a little more self-sufficient here because getting things worked on and hiring people in is super expensive.
Yeah. Then you can't. Everyone's booked up. You can't even get anybody to do it on top of it being so expensive. Yeah,
that's true. I mean, if you're wanting a contractor to do something, it's going to be a while. Even getting your vehicle in to do basic maintenance can take a good long while, depending on the situation.
3 months to get an oil change.
Yeah.
So it's just how booked up they are.
So it's things to consider. I would have, like we talked about, we thought when we come back up here, a side-by-side was going to be a necessity. And in hindsight,
we should have got a tractor. We couldn't afford a new one, but we should have.
We could easily bought a used.
A nice used one is what we should have done.
Yeah.
The side-by-side's great for taking the dogs to the beach.
It is.
It's fun. And we do use it for work, but a tractor would have been more useful.
Yeah, because we could have got a tractor with with a bucket. We not just a tractor, but we need a tractor with like a bucket, a loader on it, and like a box blade for because you need to be able to do some clearing of your land. A bush hog would be nice, and we could have gotten a little cart, like a garden cart or whatever, to tow behind the tractor, and that would have served as like the bed we use for the side by side. So. Hindsight being 2020,
used tractor.
If you have the means, bring you some kind of an equipment up. If you're moving to the city, this also is something you're gonna have different needs. But most people, when they talk about coming to Alaska, they want to live off grid or live more rural, and you need equipment because it's super expensive to get somebody to come out and clear your land or put in a driveway.
Or even just renting the equipment to do it yourself. I mean, I don't know if you guys watched our videos from last year. We arrived in February and couldn't get down the driveway. No one was able to clear it for us. So it's even to do it yourself, if you don't own the equipment, it's expensive.
Well, and like I said, you have to, if you get a bare piece of property and you need to cut in a driveway, you might be able to do it with the Bobcat. It depends. You're going to do, most time you got to hire somebody with a dozer. So these are all things to consider. I know it's like I said, it's kind of romantic. People think I'm going to go to Alaska, like I said, live off the land. And we've touched on this before. Was it just this past summer or fall that woman come up from the States? She bought property here in Anchor Point.
Oh, yes. Yeah, you can't do that. We did. We bought it sight unseen.
But with a caveat there.
Right. We had lived in this area before, just a couple miles down the road. So we were familiar with the area, not necessarily this piece of property, but we were familiar with the area, and we knew it was not in a low-lying area.
Even looking at topography maps.
Yeah, topography maps, which we did. We looked at a lot of those before we bought it. But so many people have purchased land, found out that it's wet, you can't even build on it, or you can't even access it because so many places are remote and there's no access.
Yeah.
You have to hope that your neighbor will give you an easement to get to it.
Well, because you'll look, because they'll give you like aerial views of the property, and it looks like there's a driveway.
Yeah.
But these are just basically, four-wheeler or off-road trails is all these are. And sometimes they're crossing other people's property. So let's say, even for, sake of argument, that there's no one that's going to stop you from going on the trail because it doesn't cross their property. You still have the fact that you're going to have a place, you're going to park your vehicle. You're going to go back in maybe several miles even to get to your property. And in spring breakup and in the fall, it can be really soupy, muddy, and you're going to have a heck of a time getting in and out of there. We looked at some properties that were more remote because you can get a good-sized chunk of property for cheap.
Yeah.
But she works yet, so you got to be realistic with, are you independently wealthy? Well, then it doesn't matter. But if you have to work for your living yet, you need to be close enough to the road system to be able to get in and out reasonably. And we're right off of the Sterling Highway, so it's...
We do get road noise.
Yeah, we get some road noise. It's always louder on this thing than it is in real life. Yeah, for
some reason, the GoPro picks it up more so than it sounds in real life. But, we had to be able to have road access.
So those are things, too, is also think about, be realistic with your health or what have you. If you need to be able to get out, for doctor's appointments regularly, be realistic with what you can physically do and what you can physically handle. Don't buy the first chunk of property just because it looks like it's
and what you can afford. Don't look at remote property thinking, oh, this is so cheap, because it's going to cost you 3 times the price to build in these remote areas just to get your stuff out there.
Yeah, I've talked to guys, that have bought remote properties, and they've either had to spend, hours. You take almost half a day to get out there with a wheeler or snow machine in the wintertime to take your property or your material, or you're going to have a helicopter fly it in. You're talking serious money to have something like that done. So while it's like, we would love to have a remote property and a cabin to go to, but at the same time, it's so expensive to do that, And there's actually some good YouTube videos out there. I can't think off the hand, but you can find the videos looking, for more remote builds, and it's kind of interesting watching some people's builds, flying stuff in.
Yeah.
Also, like the people that bought one of Kaiser's pups, when we bred Kaiser and Tess, they've got a remote property. They actually have a YouTube channel, and I'm drawing a blank, but I will put a picture of it right here and put a link to their channel in the description. Check them out because they did a remote build, and it's pretty interesting. Going back to the things that we should have brought, and that also depends, are you building your own house? Are you doing logs? We had looked at a sawmill.
Yeah.
That was something we really seriously considered because just, what was it, to buy it here versus buying it in the States and having it shipped, it was still cheaper.
Yeah, it was only going to be, I think, $3,500 for us to order it and pick it up in Anchorage on our way up here. Versus
buying it here.
Buying it here was over $5,000.
Because we almost did do a log cabin, and buy logs, and then we kind of at the last minute switched it up and decided to do the mono roof style of house and just do stick built, just frame it up. And you can build on your own. I mean, I had very limited experience building. A lot of you know, the only framing I had ever done in my life is I framed a partial, maybe a 6-foot long wall with my brother one time, and was in an interior wall. So even with limited experience, if you have a basic understanding of how to follow directions, you can watch YouTube videos. Matt Bangs Wood is a good one, and the Excellent Laborer. But tools, get you some decent tools and have an understanding of how to use them to a degree. You can build it. Is it going to be perfect? Probably not. But you're going to be able to build something that you can live in and you can be proud of. That you can feel like you really accomplished something.
So touching on things that you might would want to bring with you, a generator was a good one. They're much more expensive up here, so if you can get you a good one down there, bring it up. That's what we did, and it worked out pretty good. One thing I wish we had known earlier on was for shipping. It's very hard to get anything shipped up here. Amazon is great for small things, and we save a lot of money using Amazon. I mean, just an example, a can of green beans I can purchase off Amazon for 89 cents shipped right to our post office box, versus if I go to the store, it's $1.49 for a can. So we do a lot of Amazon shopping. But for big things, I just recently, within the last year, found out there's a company, Carlisle, that will ship stuff from Tacoma. So you can have things shipped to Tacoma, like our solar panels and our batteries and such, those type of things. We ship them to Tacoma, and then we pay to have them shipped up here. It only takes an extra week, and it's pretty reasonable. It's only $35 to have a solar battery shipped up here. I think we paid $300 to have the refrigerator shipped up here, and that was a full-size refrigerator. Yeah,
that was insane for something so big. I mean,
it was pretty reasonable.
We passed up so much stuff early on because we didn't understand about the shipping.
No.
People would tell us, well, you got to go to such and such a place, and then if they've got room on a pallet, you could have it maybe added to their. And I was like, well, it
was so expensive to do it that way too, and it's so fun.
I kind of got intimidated on the whole thing and just.
Yeah.
And that was another thing you talked about Amazon. Before we come to Alaska, we'd never bought anything through Amazon.
No.
So you're going to get very friendly with Amazon if you haven't already.
Yeah.
Because if you want stuff shipped, and you can just drop ship gifts and things too to family members, with grandkids. We do that a lot.
Yep.
It's very convenient and easy living in Alaska with dealing with Amazon.
Yeah, it is.
She's always got stuff coming. Like, what is this? I'm like, I don't even know. She's like, I don't even know what it is. Open up, look, it's green beans.
So Amazon's a good one, and Carlisle's even.
A lot of people come up here too, and I've seen this firsthand, and Chandra has too, where people don't have a good job locked in, or any job at all. Well, I'll just get here and I'll get there and find a job. It's not really like the States where you can kind of to a degree get by with that. There's just not the amount of infrastructure or the amount of jobs here. You can't just go. You can find something, but it's not going to pay enough to pay your bills.
Yeah, you're gonna if you don't have something already lined up, you're gonna have to start on a much lower scale than what you would normally. Hospital's always a great one. Starting environmental services and the kitchen. I mean, they're always hiring. But it's a good stepping stone.
Yeah, but it also depends on what part of Alaska you come to. It's so big. I mean, different places offer different things too. On the peninsula, and Alaska's not big on factories. We're from the Midwest.
Yeah,
factory work is, her
rules.
Yeah, her dad, worked his whole life at a factory.
My dad, my mom worked at a factory. My sister, I worked at a factory for a while. I mean, it's
if
that's
you
just what you do.
Yeah, you always
work
have
at a factory.
Yeah, in the Midwest, if some of your family and friends, everybody works in a factory. There's somebody. Yeah. Here, it's just not a thing.
No.
So you can't just easily go grab you a job there. So if you're coming up here without a job, it's very foolish. It's just don't. I'm gonna tell you right now, just don't. You can be mad at me all you want, but you're gonna come up here and it's gonna suck, big time. It's seriously, just be honest. It's gonna suck. You know, I'm not. You know, there was when we first got here. I remember vividly, a couple with kids had come to Alaska without any plans at all. They had nowhere to live. They had no job. They thought that it was going to be an easy thing, and they were in trouble.
Yeah, they were all living in a Econoline van, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
In the winter.
They
had no food, no.
Like 3 kids.
Yeah, it was.
And they're working, whatever crap jobs they can find. In the winter, there's not much going on in Alaska.
No.
And you can't be unprepared and come up here and expect that everybody's going to take care of you.
This isn't a place where you put your hand out. You need to be able to
if you do need help, I mean, people are going to be there and help you, but
absolutely
help yourself too. Come here prepared. Don't just come here hoping that somebody's going to take care of you. This is a place where people need to be self-sufficient. And like I said, the people in Alaska are great. They'll give you the shit off their back, and they'll drop everything they're doing to give you a hand. Mm-hmm. But you shouldn't just be relying on everybody to take care of you. You should be able to take care of yourself. So things to strongly consider.
Yeah.
Don't just come here because, I've seen a TV show in Alaska. Or even maybe you watched us. And I would hope that our channel doesn't give you the idea that it's easy here and that things just happen. We try to show the good, bad, and the ugly, with everything that we do. I try to make it realistic, and show that it's tough. I don't know what I'm doing most of the time. I'm winging it. I'm looking on YouTube. I'm trying to find answers. Chandra's in the background a lot of times, and she's on YouTube while I'm doing it, and I'm like right in the middle of it, I'm like, all of a sudden I'm like, uh-oh, there's a step here. I don't know what the heck I'm doing. So she's like on YouTube real quick, and she's like, and I'm like, listen, you got to do it fast because I've either got thin set or something where it's like a time sensitive. So it's just, I'm kind of getting off track here, but it's just,
But jobs definitely very important. Healthcare is huge. If you got a CDL, you can go up and drive truck just about anywhere.
Those are big things. Healthcare and CDL.
Yeah.
Or commercial fishing.
Fishing, yeah.
But that's there's some winter stuff, but
there is some winter stuff, but it's mostly a summer thing. Tourism, same thing. I mean, you can.
Yeah, because there's people that come up and will do seasonal jobs
Which, I mean, man, if you're young and you don't have kids, that would be a great way to see if you like Alaska. Come up, work for the summer. Most of them have housing.
Yeah,
they provide too, so that would be an amazing.
Yeah, and they give you some time off, so you're gonna work hard, but at the same time, you got to be here.
Oh, the experiences.
Yeah, you come here in the summer when it's nice, and this is the experience, and it's hard to come here, but you really should come here and experience Alaska on all the seasons before you make a move. And we just did it.
Well, we came in the winter.
Yeah, we came in the winter. We got here in the end of October of 2017. And, in Ohio, when literally the day we left.
It was so hot, we were sweating as we were packing
in
things
2017, up. And then as we drove, we got into Canada. I was like, well, it's already winter. Because I knew it was cold in Alaska. I just didn't understand. We didn't really do enough research. I mean, we did some research on it, but I really didn't grasp the concept that winter started so much sooner and went so much later. So all of a sudden we were driving along and the trees have no leaves, and then snow. We get in, there's snow on the ground. I'm like, wow, it's.
Yep.
And that was something that we talked about too, was the darkness.
Yeah. So it's
in winter.
Yeah, we get in the winter we have about 4 to 5 hours of sunlight,
which is, and let's say that sunlight. We'll say that with
most
it's not
of the time it's overcast and gray, and
the sun doesn't really come up. It'll come up on it kind of ride the horizon for those 4 hours. So even at noon, it looks kind of like late evening, dusk.
Yeah.
So some people can't handle the darkness.
Well, I mean, most everybody's on vitamin D pills.
Yeah, we take a vitamin D supplement too.
They have SAD lights.
They're like to help you cope with it. Ohio's kind of gray and dark in the winter too. I mean, not dark, but it's gray and dreary. So that aspect of it, I mean, it's been sometimes it's tough on us, but it's mostly around February when the winter's been long. But we already had dealt with dreary weather.
Yeah.
If you're coming from like Florida or Southern California,
It's going to be a change
it's gonna
for
be tough.
sure. This year's been so
it's
great.
I've enjoyed this mild winter. I've plowed the driveway 3 times. I mean, there's been times.
And it really wasn't even necessary. We only did it because we didn't know if we were going to get more snowfall, so we wanted to be prepared. But it really didn't even need to be.
Maybe one time I plowed it, but the other 2 times I plowed, I just plowed in preparation, thinking it was going to dump more, and I didn't want to have that base to deal with. And there's been times in the past I've had to plow 3 times in one day to keep the driveway open. So this has been a weird winter. And we'll probably pay for it next year. It'll probably be a hellacious winter.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But then on the flip side, we get all the sun in the summers. We have blackout curtains. It doesn't bother us as much now as it did the first year or so.
Yeah, it was really But in the summertime, I mean, we get about 22 hours of daylight, and then even for those 2 hours, it's about like dusk. I mean, you can still walk outside and see. You don't.
Yeah, and then
dark.
If you go more north, the winters are darker and the summers are even brighter around Fairbanks. So it depends on the section of Alaska you're in. Well, here on the peninsula, that's the winters and summers that we get. Because we'll be working out in the yard, and I'm like thinking, man, I'm like really hungry, and it's like 10 o'clock at night. Like, I missed supper because you don't have that dusk happening to make you know that it's time to. So here people go full throttle all summer long. It's just, people be out.
Oh, people out doing construction at
10, 11
o'clock at night.
Because it's still fully daylight to where you can get a ton of stuff done. So you kind of make up for your winters with the summers. And the summers are beautiful here.
Most of the time.
Yeah, most of the time. But
the last couple of years has been very, very rainy, but normally it's...
Last year wasn't as bad.
Normally it's really nice. Yeah,
usually you got a really nice summer and the fireweed blooms and... It's just really beautiful, the tourist bloom. And that's debatable on whether you...
The road construction cones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We kind of avoid going to town in the July during dip netting. All the tourists are down.
Yeah.
So it gets kind of crazy. And the peninsula is considered Alaska's playground. So everybody from northern parts of Alaska come down to the Kenai Peninsula for fishing and just general recreation. So
it gets busy.
It gets fairly busy. A lot of RVs and whatnot, so it's
don't go anywhere in a hurry in the summertime.
No, you're going to be behind some slow moving vehicles.
Cost of living in your area. I mean,
that's your area too, right? That's their specific areas too, right? I mean, it's going to vary depending on where you're at in Alaska.
Depends where you're at. I mean, here we're just slightly higher than I would say average. Anchorage is probably like everywhere else down in the lower 48.
Yeah, maybe slightly higher.
Here it's just a little bit higher. If you go to the villages, though, I mean, you're going to be paying
like Bethel, Nome,
$10, $12 a gallon for
gas and
I was going to say milk, but
gas is super expensive.
Everything's expensive. So.
Because we didn't know anything about Alaska initially, and when she was being offered travel contracts, Bethel was one, I think, Nome, Fairbanks. And so we started researching and realized that you can't get to Nome or Bethel by vehicle. You got to fly in. And then we started looking at prices and like, holy cow. I mean, they offered, I think the housing was included on that one.
Yeah.
But you got to spend so much money and there's nothing there. There's nothing really to do.
So, So the villages are definitely going to be way more expensive than anywhere else on the road system. And that goes for food, gas, and building supplies, any of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's all going to vary. Just because, like I said, Alaska is massive. We didn't even know how big it was and how long it takes to get places. I mean, we've only been to Anchorage how many times?
3 or 4 times, I think.
So in the whole time we've been here.
Yeah,
because it's a solid trip for us to go up there. It's almost 5 hours each way, barring any kind of highway shutdown, which I mean it happens pretty often.
There's only one road, and if an accident, I mean it's shut down for. I mean,
hours.
2 hours minimum, 4 hours if there's a fatality, or even longer if there's a recovery.
Yeah, our first trip we only had Tess. We just took her with us. Other trips that we took, Chris was, in his teens. He didn't care to go with us, so we were able to make the trip, and he was taking care of the dogs when we lived, up in Sterling. Now it's a little bit more difficult. Everybody was like, you guys got to do a Costco run. You got to do a Costco run.
I love Costco. We'd love to go to Costco, but it's just not feasible.
Yeah, it's very difficult for us.
It's too long to leave the dogs. I mean, 10 hours just driving, and then that doesn't count any, you know.
Because we want to go. I want to go to Guitar Center when I'm up there. There's several guitar shops. I want to hit those. You know, there's a few other stores we want to hit.
Yeah.
But then we've got the dogs in the back of the truck.
Well,
we've got to find
a couple hours at Costco itself.
Yeah, exactly. And then we got to find a place to take the dogs to the bathroom. It becomes it's a logistical nightmare.
Yes.
It becomes very difficult to just go up there because I love Raising Cane's chicken, you know, and they've got 2 of them up in Anchorage, and I love Krispy Kreme donuts, and I like to go up there and just get that.
Which is another thing to consider too is
food.
Yeah, well, yeah, food, activities.
What was you thinking about?
Well, I was thinking about activities. Living down, anywhere, not just down on the peninsula, but you know, in different places. Everything happens in Anchorage or right around Anchorage, so
there's not a lot of
anything,
things going
fairs,
on here.
Concerts, any of it. I mean, you got to pretty much go up to Anchorage for it.
And the music.
We miss out on a lot being down here.
And we're, you know, I'm really into music. You know, I bungle through playing guitar. But, you know, we like to go and watch, you know, blues bands and different things. And down in Ohio, like any given night,
yeah, you can go anywhere. There's somewhere to go.
There's some little pub somewhere, and somebody's playing. And there's some type of... The music scene here is not awesome for me. There's a lot of folk music and kind of some weird music.
It's like hippie,
folky.
Yeah,
it's not my scene at all. It's just,
which is great if you're into that.
If you're into that, you know, more power to you. Everybody's got their taste in music, but it is not mine. I like, you know, anything from like super heavy rock and metal to blues. Not into country, but if you're into nightlife, there's not a lot of that unless you just want to go to a bar. And we're not drinkers. We don't go to the bars. We don't drink casually even. You know, those are things that. Just not our scene. So
activities is pretty limited. Food.
No, the food in Alaska
awful.
is it's not great. I'm just going to be honest.
Yeah.
Just going to be honest with you guys. The seafood is great. I will tell you that. It's actually ruined us for seafood in other places. I'm sure there are other parts that have coastal states and whatever would have really good seafood.
Yeah.
But you know, we used to think that Red Lobster and Olive Garden were the epitome of fine dining. And it's no offense to you if you like those things, but it was hot garbage.
You only like them because you've not had fresh seafood. That's why.
We went to Red Lobster. We went down there visiting people, and they set that plate in front of me. I'm like, what is this garbage?
Yeah.
It looked like some kind of microwave.
Yeah, it tasted about
trash.
like van camps or something.
It was awful.
Halibut and fresh
halibut
salmon.
Yeah, halibut tacos down on the spit in Homer at Glacier D's. Mouth waters.
Or even better is Boardwalk Fish and Chips.
Boardwalk Fish and Chips.
Halibut.
They got really good halibut. You know, it's just man. The even Roscoe's, they do a spotted shrimp or something.
Yep.
I think it is.
Yeah, you can get shrimp.
It's so fresh. But beyond that,
yeah. Besides fresh seafood, it's rough.
The food is not great.
We're from Midwest. I mean, he's from South Florida, but he mostly grew up in the Midwest. You won't find that kind of food around here. There is no comfort food.
Very little. Yeah. So there's no like fried chicken and mashed potatoes and gravy, you know, and a vegetable, or you know, like open face pot roast, or just
none of that kind of stuff.
The Mexican food here, there's a couple places that we like. They're decent, but
it's different.
It's different. And we found out the Mexican restaurant we really liked in Ohio, they were actually Guatemalan.
Yes.
So their food, we talked to the main guy there, and he says, well, it's a little different. You know, it's regional. It's like anywhere in the United States. You know, they make it's like Mexican food, but it's the spicing, he says, is different. And we like their food more than we like just regular Mexican food. I love all Mexican food for the most part. So there is 2 places. Acapulco up in Soldotna is really good, and Senior Ponchos in Soldotna. Both of those are pretty good. So we go up there and it kind of scratches the itch.
Yeah.
Pizza, on the other hand, big pizza
there's
fan.
No pizza here at all. None.
All of it
is awful.
And then, of course, that's our opinion. Your miles may vary.
Yeah.
We're used to Midwestern pizza, and if you know what I'm talking about, good for you, you know what good pizza is.
Yeah.
It's like tavern style pizza. It's a little thinner. It's not super thin, but it's thinner. And it's just different. Most of the pizza is kind of like more like, I don't know, what would you say? It's like New York
Garbage.
style.
I really don't know.
We don't really like any other pizza.
Well, I would guess it's probably like West Coast pizza.
I don't know. This is a regional thing too.
Yeah, there's a lot of people from Washington and Oregon and California
and I think
here.
it's what they're used to, and that's cool. It's what you're used to.
Great.
You know, it's just
not for us.
Sometimes I feel like I'm starving to death because I can't get the foods that I'm used to.
Yeah.
So, and then it's like little Dairy Queens, or not Dairy Queen specifically. We just call them Dairy Queens in Ohio. Everything's a Dairy Queen.
Yeah.
It's just basically these little ice cream shops, little dairy bar things that sell good coney dogs and, greasy old French fries and fried mushrooms and just all the things. We don't eat them all the time, but it's the comfort foods that we're used to that just don't exist here. There's some places that we go that have good food. Like I said, Roscoe's in Nilchik. They got some pretty good food, but they're not things that we're used to. But we found things that we enjoy.
Yeah.
In
Thai, we've never even had Thai food before, and we found that
we've kind of learned to like
Vita's is
Vita's in Homer
good.
And King Cow in Nilchik. Yeah. We like that really well. There's actually no Chinese food down here on the southern part of the peninsula. Soldotna has one Chinese restaurant. It's a buffet. It's hit and miss. Some days it's pretty decent. Other days it's like, my God, you just you can't really eat it.
So food is kind of
we miss our food. And we'll get onto that pros and cons of Alaska. I suppose that could be a con of Alaska.
Actually, that's the first con on our list of pros and cons.
Before we get to our pros and cons, though, one thing we get asked all the time, and we've really not really talked about it much, but we keep getting it asked. So I
don't know.
So the one thing people ask us, why?
We don't carry a gun.
We're not anti-gun. We own several guns.
Quite the opposite.
Yeah, we're very pro-gun. We just don't feel a need. We've been here over 7 years, and only one time have I used a gun to scare off a moose that was trying to go after the dog. And I brought the shotgun out, I shot to the ground, and it scared it away. Other people, they carry a gun because they feel the need to. They live maybe more remote in places where there's more, it could be more issues.
Here we don't have.
No, I've never felt unsafe.
We know there are moose out here, and we always look before we let the dogs out. I look before I walk out to the car.
Just being aware of your surroundings.
Yeah. The dogs always alert us.
Yeah, if we go hiking, we usually either carry bear spray or a gun with us when we do that. But it's not even that often. Usually just like bear spray.
Only if we go up to Cooper Landing is real heavy with brown bear.
Which we did a video. We'll link that in the description.
We did, yeah. It's if you get the chance.
Russian River Falls.
Late July, early August, you can hike out 2.9 miles to Russian River Falls and watch the bears fish for salmon, and it is absolutely amazing.
It is really neat.
Free. It's just it's that goes under the pros.
Yeah, but we just carried one there just because of that.
We knew, it's a heavy bear.
The last thing I'd ever want to do is unnecessarily injure wildlife. As the older I've gotten, I have more appreciation for all living creatures than I did as a younger man. So the last thing I want to do is injure any creature unnecessarily, but it's our protection. We literally turned on the path, and a black bear walked right across our path. We just stopped and let it do its thing.
Yep, and he just
and we were there.
on.
She had her hand on her bear spray, and I had the hand on the gun just in case we needed to try to scare it off, or if need be to do what we we need to do to protect ourselves.
As long as you don't scare them, sneak up on them or get their cubs.
Brown bears can be more aggressive, though, but there's not as many of them in this area. There are some.
Yeah.
Like I said, people always ask, well, I watch so-and-so and they carry a gun.
No, they're more remote.
And they're more remote they are, or they just feel the need. I don't feel the need.
No.
So that just kind of figure we would, because some people thought, well, maybe you're anti-gun, or...
Nope,
no, not at all. Absolutely not. I feel like, everybody's got the right to do what they think they need to do. So we'll segue into the pros and cons.
So
maybe that we've learned over the 7.5 years of living in Alaska.
Yeah. So some of the cons, we talked about food, just not our type of food. Now you might be perfectly fine with it.
Some good food, but just unfortunately for us, the vast majority of places we go to just are not that great.
Which I guess is kind of a pro because now we eat at home more.
Yeah, that con turns into a pro because she's learned to make a lot more meals at home, things that we can't get here, we just make. So, and it's cheaper and usually a little healthier anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Save some money.
Yeah.
Family. That's probably the biggest con is everyone is so far away. You miss out on everything.
Which is one thing we knew, but at the same time, you don't really know. You don't really know. Her dad had just passed away when we came here. So it wasn't, missing on that funeral, but that is something, it's going to be harder. It's not just a hop, skip, and a jump to head back, to Ohio.
No, it's expensive and it takes a long
to
time.
Fly, yeah. So if someone passes away, there's a chance you're going to miss out, or weddings, family get-togethers in general. Both of our parents are getting up there in age. Chandra's mom's in her 70s. My mom just turned 70. And, they're all starting to deal with different health problems. And our grandkids, we have two grandkids,
I'm missing out on all the growing up.
Missing out on that,
So that kind of, definitely a con.
So those are things you really need to be aware of. And we thought we were aware of them until you're faced with them. I remember getting the call from our oldest son, Ryan, telling us that, it was going to be grandparents. And your immediate thought was like, oh, and Chandra especially, she always wanted a daughter. So then our first grandchild was a girl. So Chandra was, and both of us, because we both had wanted a daughter. We actually had contemplated having a third kid at one point. So we missed out on a lot of that, so.
And still are.
And still are.
We're still the first day of kindergarten and the
they
walking
don't
and the
know us,
baseball games and all the things. So
you can send cards and gifts, but they don't really know us. When we go down, we're the strangers.
Yeah.
So and it's harder for Chandra. Chandra's being like the stranger, you're a grandparent, but you're wanting to be more involved.
Yeah.
And so just anything in general, just the family thing. Like me and my brother, we always just hung out and done a lot of stuff. We ride motorcycles. We grew up riding dirt bikes and four-wheelers and stuff, and we continued to. We'd go riding all the time. So I kind of miss doing that, and hang out with my buddies. Andy, if you're watching, go skating. I've roller skated my whole life. We do. So I miss doing that and hanging out with some of our friends. We have some friends here, but it's a little different because our friends and people that we know in Ohio, we all grew up in the same atmosphere. So we all have kind of the same sense of humor, the same thoughts on things. So here it's a little different because people, are from all over here. So everybody's got a little different humor or a different idea of this or that. And it's a little harder to relate. We still have friends, but we don't really have any close friends here, so you do miss those things. My brother just the other day, he's like, man, catch a plane. Let's go to Bike Week at Daytona. He's got 2 bikes. He goes, let's just do it. It's like, I can't, man. I got so much going on here. I can't just drop everything, he would just have me leave the next day, and fly down to Florida. It's not that easy and it's expensive.
Yeah.
So it's like she said, you're missing, we do feel like we're missing out.
Yeah, it's price of everything.
Con, yeah.
Yeah, under the cons, just price of
everything in general.
Yeah, just everything in general. Everything's more expensive, and then again, if you want to go anywhere, it's hard to get out of here.
Yeah, so just even vacations or anything, it's a little more difficult. And this price of things too is also Alaska's big, so depending which we touched on where you're at, the prices can vary. Something like Homer is very expensive, but Soldotna is
pretty
relatively reasonable.
Yeah.
Eating out though is pretty expensive.
Yeah, we pretty much can't go anywhere for under $50 for the two of us, and that's not. I mean, that's just
not fine dining. That's just going and getting a meal somewhere.
Each of us get a meal and a drink.
Usually we get an appetizer when we go somewhere. Usually, but that usually I guess puts us up around 60 when we do that. If we just get each a meal, it's about $50, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, in contrast, I know things have gotten a lot more expensive in the lower 48, but we were just down there a year ago.
Yeah.
And we were literally eating twice to the one time we can eat here for the same amount of money. So while it may seem expensive to you guys down the States because you've been there the whole time and you've seen prices go up, when we go down, it's still sticker shock in reverse.
Yeah.
Because while there is some expensive things, for us, it feels like things are really cheap down there. Like it seems crazy.
Yeah. Another con is distance. Again, I guess we kind of touched on all that.
It's just the distance to everywhere.
Distance to family, distance to activities. Everything's very far away.
And then just the random activities that we're used to. We're used to street fairs. We lived in little towns, and they would just shut the town down. Block it off. And it was like this. Ohio's the Corn Belt, and so we would have like the Street Sweet Corn Festival and car shows. They do car shows here, but it's such a limited amount of people. The few that they have, it's the same like 10 or 20 cars.
There's not even no 20 cars.
I'm being generous.
Yes, you are.
Whereas in Ohio, there's a lot of cool muscle cars and just all kinds of sports, fancy vehicles. So there's always a car show somewhere. There's always like a street festival. The county fairs are totally different here than down there. There I'm used to go to county fair and get me a big old sausage with smothered in onions and peppers and that red sauce and a big old cup of fresh cut fries. And then you go over to the other little trailer and they're making homemade ice cream. And they do weird stuff here, like kombucha and microgreens on something. And it's like, you know what? I should eat healthy. But man, I'm not eating that. I'm just not going to do it. I'm not getting a freaking kombucha. That's not what a
fair is for.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that. I go there, I'm looking around. There's nothing for me at these fairs. I don't understand how and it's regional. It's cool. You got your thing, but I am used to a county fair in the Midwest. And if you're from the Midwest, drop a comment. If you're from the Midwest, drop a comment. Tell us where you're from in the Midwest and why you like the Midwest. We get homesick every now and again. It's certain things come up and we're like, we missed out on that, and that goes back to the missing out on certain things. Hi, Hansi boy. You my sweet baby. Yeah, you my sweet baby. Just the activities and things that we're used to. There's other activities here. They do have like Salmon Fest. That's not our jam, really. It's a
music festival.
But not our kind of music.
Yeah.
So it's just not something that we're all that interested in. There is the state fair. And they have the
Kenai Peninsula Fair.
The Kenai Peninsula Fair, but just different activities, little different things than we're used to at them. They do have rodeos, which we have a lot of rodeos in Ohio. So those are some things.
Another thing to maybe take into consideration is if you have kids. There's again, at least in this area, not a whole lot of stuff for kids to do, like group activities. Of course, you've got hunting and fishing if you want to teach them that, but as far as
like Chris was 12 when we first moved here, and just the activities he was used to doing, going roller skating, because there's no roller skating rink on the peninsula. There's only one in Alaska. No bowling anymore. Just the overall activities, the things that he was used to.
Yeah, and if you do team sports, you have to really be willing to travel because a lot of times they'll fly the kids to different parts of the state in order to play like football or wrestling or whatever. So you've got to be willing to do a lot of traveling if you want to be involved in that kind of stuff.
Which some kids don't want to do it. Some parents don't want. Chris wasn't interested in traveling, so he was doing cross country. He'd done basketball and cross country track before, and he just kind of, I think he started him here, and then he started
cross country. He did, but then he just
kind of petered out on it. It was just different, so he decided it wasn't really his thing. They're just not the activities, like as far as like any kind of mom groups. There's some things, but
not a whole lot. Maybe in Anchorage,
there would be some more things, but down here on the peninsula, there's a lot less.
Yeah, so you got to kind of keep them busy yourself.
Yeah.
Cons, weather's unpredictable. I mean, that's pretty much anywhere.
Yeah, I think that's not really, because a lot of these things we're saying are cons. These are things that some or less some things that people have asked us about.
Yeah.
Are these an issue for you guys?
Yeah.
So we're kind of touching on some things. It's not just like cons we've conjured up ourselves. It's just some things that people have asked us about.
Yeah. But yeah, so the weather can be unpredictable. I mean, one year it's snow in March, and the next year it's already spring.
Yeah, we're sitting out here in the sun, and it's like 52 degrees on the porch.
Yeah, so it's super nice. You just got to be able to layers.
Just dress in layers.
Yeah.
Just be flexible. Be ready to. We were used to just throwing either a heavy coat on or just a hoodie in Ohio. Here you need to just like she said, layer up. and then you can just shed them as you go.
Yeah. So usually I'll have a t-shirt on. Like I have a t-shirt on underneath this. Got a sweatshirt, and then typically this time of year we would have a coat on top of it.
Just don't need it.
Just don't need it. So.
And boots. Everybody here wears extra toughs. It's like the Alaskan sneaker.
They're good for everything.
Yeah, during
oh my
breakup,
goodness.
and then in the fall it gets rainy and muddy, wet. It's.
Yep, they have special ones for like where it's icy. I've got a pair of those, and they're great for if it's wet and.
It used to be just all you had option was just brown extra toughs, but now they've got different colors in them. And,
they got
but you'll see people get married, which I'll show you a couple pictures. People get married in extra toughs. You'll see people going out to town, dressed up and then extra toughs on. They are very comfortable. I'll give you that. They are very, very comfortable to wear.
Yep.
So if you come to Alaska, get you some extra toughs.
Yeah, it's pretty much mostly all we wear.
Yeah.
Crocs in the house and extra toughs outside.
Yep.
Animals. Yeah.
Well, because people have asked about, would we get goats would we get horses?
Yeah, they keep asking if why we don't have them yet, but we're still focused on the house.
That's the main thing.
We just don't. Yeah, we don't really have time to be messing with animals right now.
Well, and Chandra grew up riding horses. She's had horses since she was 12.
10 actually. I got my first one when I was 10, and I always showed horses and rode horses, and sold my last one right before we moved up here because we did the research, and it's so expensive. A bale of hay is $21 right now.
Yeah, that's.
Oh, it's crazy.
So think long and hard.
Yeah.
And if you don't, and even if you have a lot of property, you're gonna have to prep that property to have pasture, and they're only gonna be able to graze, a certain part of the year. So you're not gonna be able to just rely on that.
No, because the ground stays wet a lot.
So you're not gonna be able to just have them out. So that's another thing.
It's icy in the wintertime, which is a huge issue. I see on the horse pages all the time people having issues about the horses can't walk because the whole pasture's
just
ice.
Especially this year where it thawed, melted everything, flooded things, which you've seen in our last video where we had a bunch of flooding, and then it froze back up. And like she said, people's pastures were just a sheet of ice.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, most of the hay comes from Palmer, which is again, it's
farm
like a
belt.
4 or 5 hour drive north of here. So you got to be able to haul the hay down. A farrier,
it's just not. It's not.
There's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot to it.
Yeah, if you're dedicated to it and you've got the money to spend, you can do it. But it's very, very expensive.
Yeah.
And for us, it just wasn't really feasible. And I don't like goats. I'm probably not gonna get goats. I don't like goat's milk. So to me, a goat would be a waste of money.
Yeah, I would like to. I'm eventually going to start making some soap. So I would like to have like goat's milk soap. But for the
we probably would just buy what we would need.
Because
there's plenty of people around here that do have goats. We will get chickens. We thought about meat rabbits, but I don't know if I'll mess with those. Chickens for sure. We've had chickens before. And we'll do chickens again.
Maybe a pig.
Yeah, we possibly thought because we've done pigs before.
Yeah.
Raised them up and then butchered them and had the meat from them. So that's potential for the future. We don't really know what we're going. At some point we may leave for parts of the winters. At some point, we've talked about, our dream in the future is a sailboat and sailing. We may do that in the winters. So we don't know how far we want to go into long-term animals.
Right.
Yeah,
well, that's why pig would be fine because you just have it for the season and you butcher it off.
And these plans are so far out that this is like retirement age stuff.
Yeah.
We can't sail with dogs, so.
No.
And I've never sailed in my life.
We got a good 10 years left on dogs.
Yeah,
so
I just think I want to sail for some reason. So if you sailboats, whether it's catamaran or mountain haul, drop a comment. Let me know if you're like a sailor or if you have a sailing channel. I would love to check it out. I watch tons of sailing channels.
Yeah.
If you have a sailboat,
you want to swap? You let us know.
We could swap. You could come up here. You could take care of our dogs at our homestead. We could
try off-grid life for a while.
Or maybe you can just invite us down to your boat and we'll spend a week with you guys on your sailboat. I don't want to be just a bum. I want to learn how to sail. So I'll come down and help you guys.
No.
I'll help work on it and the whole thing. I want the whole experience. It's something I've always wanted to do with sail. But that's another reason why we're not getting super long-term animals. Was we like some flexibility, even though we have dogs.
Yeah.
Some flexibility about to go if we need to go.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess I'm just really kind of over animals. I grew up with lots and lots of animals and. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're just kind of done with that. My dad raised ostriches, believe it or not. We
And
had
emus
ostriches,
and
emus, and
rheas.
At school, I was called Ostrich Boy. How embarrassing, too, because I was always like, you're so self-conscious as a teenager. And then my dad gets ostrich. I was like, you got to be kidding, Dad. Because we lived, the bus comes right by our house, picks us up, and he's got his ostriches, their fenced-in area, right by the road. We got people from the local newspaper coming and taking pictures, and people would stop along our house on the road taking pictures, and I'm like mortified. So I go to school and hey, Ostrich Boy. So yeah, I'm kind of over lots of animals at this point.
Yeah, so probably just chickens, maybe some rabbits, and possibly a pig each season. But yeah, we're just gonna keep it simple.
Yep, keep it simple, stupid.
All right, so I think that's about all the cons. Really.
Yeah, really. I mean.
So overall, the food's awful. You're way far away from everyone, and it's expensive.
Yeah. So those are really the main cons. Yeah. And so other people will come here and they'll be like, "Yeah, the food's fantastic," and you'd be wrong. But no, that's a personal preference. For us, the food's not great. For maybe you right there on that plaid ugly couch, maybe it's good.
Yeah, if you like microgreens and kombucha, you're
in there
for that. Pros. Freedom.
The absolute freedom that you have in Alaska.
There are not very many places you can go and just plop down and build whatever you want to build without anyone telling you anything at all. I have got no permits,
there's no covenants or any kind of restrictions or zoning. Now certain other parts of Alaska, like if you're in city limits, there are some things. Not as many as in most lower 48 states, though. But even our little town we were from in Mount Gilead, Ohio, zoning came in. You can't do anything on your own anymore. A bunch of yuppies moved into the area and basically just shut down doing anything on your own.
Gotta have permits for everything.
It can be a double-edged sword because we can do anywhere we want, but so can a neighbor.
Yeah.
And they could come in and throw a tar paper shack together and just be a disaster. That is a problem to a degree here.
Yep.
There's some people that are a lot of the tweakers, the druggies, will get they'll go in together and get a piece of property and throw an old shack up on it, be dealing drugs out of it, and it's just a mess. It's a junkyard. So everybody's got the freedom to live the way they want to live, but don't be a piece of trash. I'm just going to put that out there. Just have some common sense. I'm not going to tell people what they should and shouldn't do except for that. Don't come up here and be a thief and a druggie and make life miserable for everybody else. And use some common sense. Don't be shooting at 2 o'clock in the morning. Everybody's like, well, this is Alaska, it's the freedom. You also should have some common sense. Yeah. Just exercise common sense. It is what it is there.
Unfortunately, that's getting
less and less.
Yeah.
It just seems like less and less people have any concern or respect for their neighbors or their fellow human beings. We're living in a time where there's a lot of hatred towards each other, and I think that people should be pulling together instead of separating. But we're not going to go down that path. We don't do. People have asked us too, what are your guys' political leanings?
Yeah.
What is your religious beliefs?
There's plenty of political and religious stuff out there. We don't need to talk about.
We will not go down that road because it's divisive. We're not here to divide people.
Nope.
We want our channel to be someplace you come and everybody can be welcome to sit down and watch us. And we're not going to shove our viewpoint because we're here for your entertainment. Our opinion is no more valid than anyone else's.
Yep.
Everybody does their own thing, and everybody has the right to like what they like and do what they do and vote for who they want to vote for and believe in whatever religion that they want to believe in. And that's what's great about America is the freedom to have those freedoms.
Yep. Alaska's got
plenty of freedom. Room to grow.
Well, and that goes into openness. It's so open. I mean,
you don't feel it's like there's certain places. And I'm sure you guys have felt this too, where you feel
claustrophobic.
I'm getting a little chill. The sun has went away. We should have dressed in layers. I should have taken my own advice. But it's so open and vast, and you just stand outside and you take a breath.
It's fresh.
You don't have the factories, so you don't have like the air pollution.
Oh, we don't even have planes. I mean,
the only planes you
have are like local bush planes.
So.
Emergency helicopter every now and then, life flight.
But it's so clean smelling.
Commercial planes hardly ever.
I had somebody, I grew up drinking out of a hose. We would drink out of creeks as kids, and we grew up as hillbillies, And I don't have no qualms about going to a stream, and drinking out of it. And people on our opening, you see me drinking out of a mountain stream. We were way up in the mountains on a hiking path, and it was fresh water coming out from way up above. And like, oh, you'll get beaver fever or something, you get.
And you could.
But I have been doing this my entire life, and I'm not going to stop now. I don't live my life worrying about what will happen. If you spend your life worrying about what will happen, nothing will ever happen to you. I just go out and I just live my life. I do my thing. If I'm thirsty and there's a clean, cold stream and if the water's moving, I'm going to take a drink of it.
Now, if it's a warm, stagnant puddle.
Yeah, with a dead possum in it, I'm probably going to pass. Or pull out that life straw.
Yeah.
But we just, the freedom and the nature.
Yeah.
The mountains. Chandra loves mountains and the water. And that's another thing with Alaska. I mean, it's so big that
there's so many different areas. I mean, yeah, we've got desert in part of it. There's actually sand dunes.
Right. But we're down on the peninsula where it's kind of a coastal area.
Yeah, it's real coastal down here. We've got tundra way up north.
Yeah, it's a vast differences in Alaska.
Yeah.
So choose where you want to be, and then do some research on it, and then go to where it suits you.
What's the tropical rainforest?
Yeah, like tropical,
yeah. There's rainforest down south, southeast,
like Sitka and Juneau area. It's very rainy down in there.
Yeah.
There's Alaska's very vast, so there's different climates and different types of terrain and stuff. This is what suited us and Chandra more than me. She was more interested in it. I hear somebody crying back there.
Yeah, I see doggies at the window. But yeah, so we're in a very coastal, mountainy. Yeah. Probably the most beautiful area, I think.
And the wildlife, Chandra, she's all about the wildlife, and I like watching them too. But
yeah, well, we got moose. We got a moose preserve that's 2 lots over. Yeah. So we get tons of moose. We got, occasionally we'll see a bear. There's all kinds of ermine and rabbit and eagles and
tons of eagles.
Ptarmigan. You go over to the water and you get to see the sea lions and otters and whales, and it's great.
And the eagles are pretty majestic, except for like 3 o'clock in the morning when one decides to perch up in this tree and squawk.
Yeah.
It's a little less majestic.
Or the owl. We've got an owl that lives out back.
That thing gets to hooting super loud
it does.
at night. But there's a lot of the wildlife here is pretty fun to watch. The otters and seals, everything down on the beach. Wages are really, really high here.
Yeah, I mean, cost of living is higher, but wages I think are higher.
For the most part, that also depends on what you're in. What you're
I mean, as a nurse, I'm making $8 to $10 more per hour up here than I would doing the same thing down there, with way less patients. So wages are pretty decent.
That's a big thing to consider,
Yeah.
The wages, but a lot of people will get stuck in that, well, you make so much more in Alaska.
And we do.
You do, but you pay more.
Yeah.
Which also takes us into, which we did that episode about the Alaska PFD, which a lot of you probably watched, and we'll try to remember to link that in the description.
The PFD is nice, but it's nice, definitely not.
It can range from a few $100s to
like
$1,700 or something like that. But it's not guaranteed.
A nice little bonus.
You don't know what it's going to be. It's just a bonus. So you're not getting paid enough to offset the cost of living. It's just a nice little bonus.
Yeah. Dog friendly. I mean,
very
pretty
dog
much.
Friendly.
Yeah, you can take your dog just about anywhere. I went to the VFW yesterday to pick up some food, and there's a dog running around in there. The hair salon's got dogs.
She's taking hers to the nursing home with her.
Yeah.
Or to the hospital.
Yeah.
People well, I can't really move there, but I've always wanted to come. Well, if it's within your means, do it. Alaska's kind of a bucket list place. Well, it is, not even kind of. It is a bucket list place for a lot of people. So if you've never been and you think you want to do it, just do it. Just come up here. Pick wherever you want to come to Alaska. Come in the summers, or unless you're really a winter buff.
Yeah.
I mean, there's you can go up and there's places you can go on dog sled rides, snow machine tours.
Yep.
There's lots of things going on in the winters too. But come up in the summers. You can go out and do charters and fishing charters. You can do different hunts, and it's a beautiful place.
The islands are really neat to go over and check out.
Yeah, go over to get on a boat ride, go somewhere.
Yeah.
There's whale watching tours, a lot of things to do over here.
Yeah. Or even just, I think probably the cheapest way to do it is to do a cruise.
Yeah.
A lot of people do cruises. I mean, you don't get to see a lot of the inland stuff, but it'll definitely get you to Alaska and be reasonably priced.
I think to close this all out, the last thing is that people always ask us, well,
would you do it again?
Yeah. I think everybody's going to have a different answer to that. I mean, what's yours?
Absolutely. I would for sure do it again and recommend it to everybody.
Yeah, I think so. My biggest thing is, like I said, missing some of the things that I did. I was really into, quad riding, the motorcycles, skating, and just a lot of the things that we did down there. And I didn't really anticipate missing those things as much as I do. I guess I'm very into the music scene and not necessarily playing music with other people, but, watching bands and whatnot. And then just like the guitar shows and, I'm always swapping and buying and selling guitars. It's really hard to do here. So I'd probably do it again, but my thing is like I start getting antsy and I want to like go because I've spent my whole life traveling. My dad, as we were growing up, he did construction, so we would travel for his work. So we would make loops, Ohio in the summers, and we'd go down to South Carolina, Florida, Phoenix, Arizona, and make these loops. So, I got used to being all over the place. So sometimes I get that urge to want to go. And then we took a couple trips. We did an RV trip, then went down, one other time and seen family, or two other times. And it's kind of a thing where I get down there, and after a couple months, I start feeling like claustrophobic, and the hustle and bustle gets to be a little bit too much for me. And then like I start getting pulled back. I was like, it's time to go home. And that's the thing. Alaska is kind of one of the places that people say you either love it or hate it. And there's sometimes I love it, and there's sometimes I hate it. She loves it all the time, and I go back and forth on it. But it's one of those things. Alaska has this pull, and it's hard to explain. You'll be down there, and then it's just like it pulls you back. And people that have been here, you guys know what I'm talking about. If you've been here, drop a comment. If you've been to Alaska, drop a comment too. I'd like to know who of our viewers have been here.
Yeah, where'd you go?
Where'd you go? And do you feel that pull to come back to Alaska? I'm just curious, because a lot of people say that, and I'm just curious, do our viewers feel that? So I think for us, would you do it again? Yeah. I'm the type though that I need to get out probably once a year. I need to be able to go for a little bit and have some other scenery because I just get antsy.
Well, I don't know if that's really any different from anywhere else, though.
Yeah,
I mean, most of the time people go on vacations wherever you do live. So it's harder to do it from up here.
Yeah, and that's something we did not anticipate.
Yeah.
Before it was just like, every year we would go to Florida, because like I said, I'm from South Florida. So every year we would go down in the winter for a week or two. I haven't been back to Florida in like 9 years.
Yeah.
It's harder to do, when you're here, it's harder to go anywhere. So it's more difficult, especially with us having the dogs. We can't just close up the house, hop on a plane and leave. It's like we love the dogs, but at the same time,
they're very limiting.
They're limiting. We have to consider, and I'm not just going to leave them with just anybody, because they're like our babies. So I'm very particular of who's going to take care of them, so especially Hans, we both have this symbiotic relationship. He gets, upset when I'm gone, and I worry about him if I'm gone. So, how it is if you're a dog person, how that can be. But anyhow, if we would do it again, we would, but I would like to be able to also take some vacations here and there because this lifestyle gets a little bit, it's tough. Living off grid, we're not like remote off grid. People get confused on that. You're not off grid because I can hear the highway. Off grid is just not on city services. We don't have city sewer, we don't have city water, and we don't have tied to the electrical grid. That is the definition of off grid. There's different kinds of off grid. There's remote off grid. We're just kind of rural off grid.
Yeah.
But it's still tough. We don't, I'm still trying to get our water situation sorted out to where I can use our big tank, having that pressurized, and our whole system. I've got plumbing to do. There's lots of things yet to make our life easier. And that's why we've not been having a lot of fun and, doing the other activities because we have so much to do. And we're trying to do this on cash only and not getting into further debt. So it's just it's going to take us time. It's going to take us time. I know a lot of people want to see, you just do this, and this, or just go buy this and this. Well, if you have unlimited money, you can, but we're trying to stay away from more debt.
Right.
I'd love to have a new tractor. That's going to be debt. I'd love to have a new snow machine. Debt. And those payments suck. A snow machine payment in the summer is no fun.
No, or even this winter.
Even this winter, because there was no real snow.
No.
A tractor probably could be the only thing maybe that would be worth going into debt for. Although I still, at the same time, almost $30,000 for a tractor.
Yeah.
Will I use one enough to offset that kind of expense?
Probably not.
Probably not.
Not at this point. I mean,
No.
all we've got left to do is the septic.
Yeah.
And
Initially, it would have been. And there's things I got a bunch of gravel behind the house. I'd love to about a move. I'm not to run a tractor to do that. I want to open up more of our yard for the dogs. But I got a lot of stumps I need to remove, so I'm gonna have to rent some kind of equipment to take care of that.
when you go to build your building, you'll probably need something
Yeah,
for that too.
something for that. But
if I have to rent one for 3 or 4 times, it's still going to be way cheaper than buying one. So
yeah. But like I said, at some point we may make a trip down and buy a used one with cash, because we found nice tractors with loaders down there for less than $10,000.
Yeah.
So it could be a thing. One winter or one summer we may just have to bite the bullet and make that trip. Here, a used tractor, if you can even find one, is almost as much as a new one. So
yeah. Well,
I don't know.
people
It's things to consider.
People just don't sell them because they're so expensive and
so
hard
expensive
to get.
Hard to get. So yeah. Like I said, we're rolling up on our second year on this property, and starting the YouTube channel, and we're so thankful for all of you that watch. We just enjoy sharing what we do, or sharing our life.
Great getting to meet everybody. I mean, we get so many comments, and I get emails from people, and even phone calls and letters, and it's
all over
amazing.
the world, and it is. It's just it's humbling to us too that people would be interested in what we're doing, and we enjoy it. We'll be in town, and every once in a while we get recognized, and it's funny. It's funny to us, and people are excited, and I'm excited that they're excited.
Yeah.
And don't stop me, because you won't get away from me. Because I talk way too much. So if you stop me somewhere, be prepared to be stopped for a good long while, because I will talk about anything. Like now, I segue into anything.
Yep. He's a talker.
Always have been. So, but if you see us,
if you happen to be up here and you see us out, by all means, don't.
We're not them type. It's like leave us alone. No pictures, please. But we're just really thankful for all of you that watch. And there's more things to come, so hold tight. We got more projects.
Yeah, we've got.
We're kind of slow lately getting new projects out. We've had some setbacks. Had an injury to my hand. That's it's healed up and fine now, but it kind of set us back. And then not having stuff that we needed at the lumber yard. The shower is coming. Trust us, guys. I really apologize. This has taken me way longer than I had ever imagined. Had I known how difficult this is so above my pay grade.
Yeah.
Had I known how difficult it was going to be, I would just put in a fiberglass shower. It's looking nice, but it's very difficult, and we've run out of materials. We got stuff on sale, and thankfully so far we've had enough of those materials, but it's constantly running back for things we didn't have or I didn't know I needed.
Well, we usually can only make one trip a week up there, so if they don't have what we need, then we have to wait a whole nother week in order to get what we do need. Or if we have to order it, it usually takes about 2 weeks to get up here. So it's time consuming, but it's coming along. And
more projects are coming. More has been done on the kitchen. I've been trying to keep that kind of out of the camera eye as I move around the house. So some of you eagle eyes of me have seen certain things, but I'm trying to keep that because we got the kitchen about halfway there. We got a few more things to do, and then we're going to start putting our floor down. I didn't want to put our flooring in until I was done with everything else. I didn't want to tear our floor up.
Yeah.
So the flooring is coming really soon too. And
so bathroom will be next, kitchen after that, flooring. Once the kitchen's done, I really hope to start doing some little side projects, making some soap and different things.
Yeah, some recipes that she likes.
Yeah.
So there'll be some things like that for all you and there's been a lot of people have asked us for that kind of stuff. Right now, like she said, we don't have a kitchen. We don't have a kitchen that's put together enough, I guess.
Yeah, put together enough to do any of that kind of stuff. So, but I love canning, and
Flat Tire Farm, she's watched, they do make their own soap, which we'll put a link to their channel. So if you haven't checked them out, I think we have a whole bunch of links to put in the description.
Probably.
So make sure you check the description because there's going to be a whole bunch of links to all kinds of good stuff.
Yes.
If you don't check it, and I plug my channel. I have a second channel.
Oh, yes.
It's called MUTT'S Gear Shack. Like I said, some of you know I play guitar very poorly.
No.
And I play it. I just do it for fun. And so what I do is basically do kind of guitar reviews, modifications, different things, and I do little sound samples and demos of the guitars. And it's just for fun. I do have my one video has over 1,000 views on it, so I'm like stoked that I got 4 videos up and I got 33 subscribers already. So
go over
that, check it out,
subscribe.
and subscribe if you like guitar content.
Or even if you don't, just
give me a thumbs up and
because we love Craig.
Subscribe,
So.
yeah. If you want to watch me, my channel sucks and it's poor. It's doing poorly. My goal was to, at some point be able to play guitar poorly and there. I always wanted to know, what is it? I always wanted to play guitar badly, and after, I started when I was 15. After all these years, I could finally play guitar badly. All right, we've rambled on.
Yes.
All right. So anyway, we're thankful for all of you guys. Remember, if you like the content, the biggest thing, and all of you don't even realize how big of a help it is just giving us that that thumbs up. That is a huge boost to the algorithm. If you make a comment,
it's even better.
It can be anything. You can just even give a thumbs up comment. It helps the algorithm. It helps us out immensely. It doesn't cost you a dime. Subscribing is another big thing. It is free.
Yep.
Subscribe.
Share it. Anybody that likes Alaska stuff, yeah.
We're not going to beg for your subscriptions. Please subscribe to our channel. But it helps us out, and and we love reading your guys' comments. We, believe it or not, we read every comment.
Every single one.
Chandra sits down when we put a new video out, and she reads all the comments off to me, and she does most of the answering. She'll usually ask me if there's something pertaining to me, and I'll say whatever to, I would respond to. But we read all your guys' comments. We don't just ignore you. So anyhow, remember, like, subscribe, comment, and
we'll see you next week.